Hello, it's Allison here, and it is time for today's lift up. And here's the thing, all you when your goals are not and you're losing steam and you're just not feeling but you know that you want to do that. So hop to the truck. I am getting a little internet lag, so if you can't hear me, let me know. And hopefully we don't have challenges for today because it's an topic I'm excited to share with you. I know when you set goals, it can feel like they take forever to come to fruition. I feel I experience it. The bigger the goals, the bigger it's going to reach them, and the you're getting after setback. So one of the streets is having stand by. My goal is to get good internet. And in fact, Starlink was delivered. So that's really exciting. I'm actually going to check, see what's going on. Okay, so I will hope that if it's not streaming, there we go. I can tell now, we should be all right. So with the goals, bigger the goals, the more you may feel like you don't have what it takes to keep going and to keep driving, and you feel like the punches are coming. There's just so much discouragement that can happen. And so being able to stay with it, even in despite all the discouragement and the setbacks and the things that you are with, is what leads to success. You know, I love the whole imagery around 3 feet from gold. If you've ever seen that cartoon where the the years and years and years and years, and then he's like right there, the whole mode is right there, and he can't access it because he gives up too soon. And then the next person comes and there it is. That. So I want that to happen to you. Now, the first piece of the puzzle is to recognize that you are not a victim. When things are going wrong, your goal on your path, it can be, woe is me, everybody's out to get me, nobody's doing what they say they do. Why does this keep happening? It can become very frustrating. At that. And you are not a victim. So this attitude of, oh, you know what, I want that bad enough that I'm willing to keep going with this. And the victim mentality is generally where you end up going like, screw it. It's never happen. I don't have this. I don't have this. I don't have this. I don't have this. And then we have this whole list of things, and that's the fault. Now we're going to get into what do we do with that. By the way, I really wish my chat was working so I could see you here and hear from you. But anyway, hopefully at least during the stream. All right. So next thing is going to sound very counterintuitive. And I wrote about this in my weekly email that goes out on Tuesday mornings, a lift up. It is the concept of quitting. And so I'm going to challenge you to emotionally, mentally, no, officially yet, quit the goal. Say, you know what, I am done. I'm not going to do it. And the answer and how you react to that will tell you everything you need to know about your goal. Because when you really, truly want something, and sometimes goals aren't coming to fruition because it's not what you actually want, and it is not, and you just really don't want it, or maybe you used to want it and now you don't, and you haven't allowed for that change in your world. And so if you quit, you say, that's it, I'm done, there will be a sensation. There will either be a sensation of relief or a sensation of regret. And if there is a sensation of relief, then really need to dig deep and go, wait a second, am I really working to really truly want to be working towards? Or is this an old goal? Is this something that doesn't align? Is this somebody else's goal? Possibly. You may feel regret. Oh, not, no, 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 I have to do. And I remember when I was like, this was years ago. I don't say it anymore when I get discouraged, but she used to say, you know what, why don't you just go get a job? And I'd be like, no, mean. She'd be like, well, if you're not, making enough money, if you're not clients, loving the behind the scenes work, right? Like the easy stuff is this, obviously. It's everything else with the business is really hard. Or I don't even actually want to say it's really hard. It's just not my forte necessarily. And she used to say, well, go get a job. Everything in my body would get like defensive and no, and that's not an option, and I'm not quitting. And then it would like completely inspire this perspective, right? Oh, no, I got to figure this out, and I am going to figure it out. So if you quit and you say, you know what, I'm out of here, I'm not going to do this, then you can, you'll know your answer. Next, number 3. By the way, if you want to direct message me a message, I can keep an eye on those too, because I know sometimes people have questions, right? And I can't see the chat, but I can definitely see my messages if you bring those up. Now, the next thing that we want to look at is your story. Because when we fail and we're working towards a goal, it's really easy to start thinking in terms of, I'm not failing, I am a failure. And that nuance is so critical to your stick-to-itiveness, how willing you are to keep going and chasing a goal. If you feel like you suck, you are not your circumstances, you are a product of your circumstances, perhaps, if you don't have the emotional and mental and physical discipline to not allow that to happen, like to not work on default in your life. You are maybe not doing the right activities, quite possible. Maybe you need a new skill set or an additional skill set to help you get closer. Maybe this is just the journey you're on and there are some lessons that you still need to learn. All of those are feasible, but none of them say that you're an idiot or you're not qualified or you aren't good enough to achieve the goal. And so you may need to learn something, you may need to build a new skill, and that's okay. And this is all about having that growth mindset and being willing to go, oh, wait a second, maybe the way I did that wasn't quite the way I should do it. And getting compassionately curious with yourself about what are those missing pieces of the puzzle that I haven't quite reached yet. And see, for me, if I know that I can identify, okay, well, I kind of have to improve in this area, or got to improve a lot in this area, that gives me hope, because it's like, oh, if I can figure that out, I'm going to be fine. It'll work out. And unless I can figure that out, like, then that's up to me, right? That growth mindset, that learning the new skill, that learning or bringing people in on the team who can fill in that gap, whatever the case may be. So really, really looking at the storyline. Now, this can go as far as like from your identity, for sure. Also from just how you describe the situation, right? Like, I'm taking way too long. It's not working. Like, I kind of have to reevaluate my phraseology, because one of the things I'm noticing is I often will say to my friends, like, well, I think my ship is, been waiting for my ship to come in, and I think I can see it from the harbor. Right. And at this point, I think just like people are in the lifeboats and they're coming into the dock for me. Right. Like, and it's like, wait a second, you know what? That is a limiting belief. that my ship has got to be way out there and I can't see it really up close or experience it or be on it. And so everything is on the table when you're feeling discouraged about a goal. You have to look at it and go, okay, what are the stories I'm telling? What are the emotions that I'm putting on it, right? Like if you're really feeling like you're failing, then is that clouding how you're reaching out for sales? Is that clouding how you're showing up on social media or the kind of activity that you're doing? And that is the story you tell will be created by default unless you choose to craft a new story. And it needs to be strategic. And often I believe it's pen and paper, really, or just even typing in a Word document. I find that really, really helpful to help me see, okay, like I thought that like my ship is out there waiting for it to come in was really, quite cute. And then I'm like, maybe I'm just reinforcing that I haven't reached some of my goals and I'm sending out the message that I don't really need it. Right. But I didn't actually see that. I was writing the lift up for this morning's email. Makes a difference. Now, for those of you just joining us, the chat is not working today. And so I'm really glad that we can stream your email if you're on LinkedIn. And actually, why don't I bring up my Facebook as well? So if you want a direct message, I can read your comment or your perspective here. Oh, okay. Those are up. Okay. So next, let's look at what have you actually done? So how far have you come towards your goal? Because sometimes we think about, I want to get to this, and it's so easy to forget how far you come, right? Like I know I want to speak more, and this is what I want to be doing all the time, and be getting paid for it. But quite frankly, obviously I do it without getting paid for it because I love to create content, and that's why I show up here once a week, now on Tuesdays, by the way, instead of Mondays. But like, how far have you come? Now I think back to even 2 years ago or 5 years ago when I was doing Resiliency Ninja, right? And that was great for the time, and it didn't really align and it didn't really stick, and it was like it had some flaws in a brand. And so I had to go through that trajectory. I had to go through that learning experience to just come out the other side and go, you know what? My brand is just, I'm Allison Graham, and this is and even the content, like now I know until, oh my gosh, February of 2020. So before the pandemic, I had a different way of explaining my tasks, obstacles, adversities. And it was just missing something. And I remember the moment when I figured out, oh my God, that's it. And it was figuring out the word tasks but I had to go through all that learning in order to actually come out the other side and be like ready for the next piece. So how far have you come? And what have you learned with each setback along the way? And that growth trajectory, that recognizing your growth is so critical to feeling a sense of hope and reinvigorating innovation to get to the next level. Okay. So looking at that, how far you've come, now I want you to look at what steps have you actually taken, and more importantly, what steps have you not taken? So when somebody comes to me in my coaching practice and they say, okay, well, whatever, we can use something vague, like I'm really overwhelmed. And I'm like, okay, well, what systems have you put into place? Well, I don't really have any systems yet that work. Okay, well, let's put systems into place. You can't solve the problem of, in this case, this example of being overwhelmed if you don't have systems, or you haven't even tried. So most people have tried systems, but you haven't found one that works. And, when it comes to sales, okay, well, show me how many people you've done outreach to, right? Like, okay, I don't have a social media presence. Great. Show me how many posts you put on LinkedIn or Facebook or wherever it is that you're focusing your effort. Like, do the work, show your work, write it down, because what I've found to be true is that when we're not getting to the goals fast enough, that there is a list of should do's that are actual need to do's. And we're getting so caught up in the busy of reacting to whatever's happening in the world and not actually doing the most important, hardest stuff. I'm going to share with you one of my key reasons and ways that when I'm not doing the thing that matters most, will push myself to actually do it. I will call a friend who's probably, most of the time, it's usually somebody who's in my industry or aligned in some way, but it doesn't have to be. And we'll say, okay, for the next hour, we'll hop on Zoom. And for the next hour, I'm only going to do X. So it might be outreach. Or if you need to build up your profile, it's social media. I'm only going to create content for social media for the next hour. Or it's, I need to be writing more. So for the next hour, I'm going to work on an article. Doesn't matter what it is, but you commit and you're both on Zoom and you're muted. And an hour later, the timer goes off and you check back in. What did you get done? And I actually did one of those this afternoon already. And it was interesting because I was having like a really distracted day. And I found that I would have probably 7 times would have gotten off track. So because I was committed and on Zoom with an accountability partner, I was able to get the thing that I wanted to get done, which is the actual activity that will move the needle forward and get me closer to going to those boats. All right. And I suspect, and I wish the chat were working, because I suspect that there's something that that if you were doing more of it, you would be a lot further ahead in getting and reaching your goals. Now, I'm just going to go over and see if there are any comments that I can't session. Watch the live. Doing more of it. There we go. Okay. Jacqueline saying, yeah, prioritizing is important, as is having a few close people in your industry to talk to and work with. Absolutely. And a lot, just having that sense of and reaching your okay, I'm going to mute the site. Isn't it a shame that I'm so tuning in? There's some folks also messaging in the chat. So you are okay. Fantastic. Thank you for the text. Because the chat's not working on Restream today, so we've got to improvise, and I'll pull it in from different places. So thank you for that text. Okay, so what have you not done? And there's probably something, and you already know what it is. And I'm going to ask you to put it in the chat box, because quite frankly, if you put it there, I will come and look when I'm done going live if I don't see it before then, and we can you can be accountable. Oh, there we are. Look at this. Great. Okay. Be distracted, and sorry also that my stream seems to be quite fuzzy when I look at it live, but that's okay. All good. And what else can we do? If you have any questions, let me know. I'm getting a text. What's the best book for monthly goal setting and taking action daily without analysis paralysis? Great question. So first of all, totally going to recommend my book, Take Back Your Weekends, Stress Less, Do More, Be Happier, because it's actually about a system to I call it a task circle, and it's about identifying what areas of responsibility you have in your life, what are the priorities within each area of responsibility, and putting some systems in place to make that happen really well. The second thing I'm going to suggest to you is be sure to have some accountability partners. So whether it might be somebody like me who's actually a paid coach, or it could be a colleague and a friend who just wants to see the best in you and doing as well. So set your goals for the week, and come heck or high water, you're going to get those goals done. That's the priority. I think, when you use good stress as a tool, good stress will have accountability, a deadline, and a very specific related task. So while today we're talking about that big overarching goal and how you could lose hope on the way to getting there and achieving it, when it comes to our day-to-day or even like our hour work stints, we want to be sure we have a singular focused task-oriented goal that you're going to work on, and that's your priority. Now, for those of you just joining today, our chat box is not working, so we're checking Greg on my text. So he's sending me the questions that he's seeing on the different platforms, and I'm trying to keep an eye out as well, which probably is just hurting my my live stream quality because it's already really bad. But on the good news front, Starlink arrived today, so I'm going to go dive into that box and get that opened up. Anyhow, I hope that helps you. For those of you who are arriving now, it's like you're not a victim. You get to choose 100% your next steps and do this. Quit. So quit to begin, right? Say, yeah, no, I'm going to give up. That's it. I'm out of here. And listen to how your body reacts, because your body will tell you the tale of exactly what's happening and how you, if you really, really, really want that goal. And if you want it, then you got to keep going. You got to find a way to keep going. Looking at your storyline, you are not your failure. You are simply moving towards a goal, or perhaps you are failing, but you are not a failure. And that's okay. So we got to just keep trying and getting compassionately curious with ourselves. What skill do I need? What am I lacking? Who on the team do I need? What steps am I taking? But also remembering how far you've come, right? Like there's just so much value in that, and rewarding yourself for that. And then looking very clearly at what you have not done. That is really the answer to getting closer to your goal. All right, so there we go. I'm going to call it a day on the streaming, and I just hope you have had a beautiful day so far, and you are going to keep going towards those goals. That's my hope for you, and you will eventually get there. Your ship will actually come into the harbor, and you will step aboard, right? Yeah. So until next Tuesday, we're going to do these on Tuesdays now. I'm going to encourage you, or hope for you, that you will stress less, do more, and be happier. Thanks for being here.